Hi, everyone. Welcome to the UFO Hub live stream. And today is open lines where you log into Telegram and talk to me directly. Share your stories, whether it's metaphysical, spiritual, UFO, aliens, you name it. And sometimes we go a bit off topic, which quite possibly we might go today, but we'll see. So there's a few things I wanted to cover first, and then I figured I'll go into the topic that I want to cover today, which is basically your reality is a different dimension. And this is something you don't have to stick to. If you want to talk to me about something else you might have experienced, please do so. This is just me wanting to just have a little bit more structure to these open lines when I first start them out. And so cover something that you can add your thoughts to it, or just go into a whole new direction if you like. So first things first, I want to go here and let you guys know about, I'm going to use my Facebook because that was the only quick thing that I could pull up here. So earlier in Telegram and on Facebook, and I believe also in the community tab on YouTube, I posted this message saying that Ozark Mountain Publishing is simply giving out some free books. If you cover the shipping, it's yours, and but in different languages. So they have some of these books, and I posted I guess a total of 45 pictures Some are in Portuguese, Norwegian, Croatian, Italian, French, Spanish, Russian, Mandarin, and traditional, Thai, Japanese, Turkish, Dutch, Polish, Bulgarian, and German. And so these are Dolores Cannon books in all these different languages. And so, and I believe there's two authors like this one here and one other that is that is available for you to look through and claim. And all you really pretty much have to do, like I said in those messages, is to send an email to Ozark Mountain Publishing under info at ozarkmt.com and simply tell them, give them your address and what book you want, and they'll send you back a quote for how much shipping that would be. And so I have a ton of different books here too, here in the studio that were by different authors that that I wanted to give away, but I haven't gotten to a point where it's a bit more structured for you guys to see all that is available. But I will do that eventually. And then these are the ones that I have are different authors, and I think entirely different authors. I don't know that there's any Dolores Cannon books within that bunch that are published by Ozark Mountain Publishing. And so it's yours for free if you can cover the shipping. And so, yeah, I put the whole list up here, and it's just, you can see for yourself all that is available. They have different amounts. Sometimes they just have one of whatever book is there. Sometimes they have 5 to 6. So it's kind of on a first come, first serve basis. So anyway, I wanted to let you know about this. Okay, didn't prep for this, but I can change that out. Okay, that works. So what I wanted to cover today, I felt was very relevant, and to start out with this topic, especially with what's going on around the world right now. And it's been going on for a while, but as I mentioned in the past, I want to use the opportunity of in the beginning of these open lines to cover one of the weird and crazy subjects that I've learned about and basically was ingrained in me through my development process. And I don't know if it's going to benefit you, but it might answer some of the questions, especially if you have a lot of fears, about what's going on. I hope it can alleviate some of those. I can't guarantee you that you're going to notice a difference in your life after you hear the information. That's because you have to apply it. You have to do the work to actually truly change that belief system in order for it to be of benefit to you. If it's not, you're just going to be, be that classic person who goes like, whatever they're talking about, that's not my reality, and you'll leave it at that. And so I have two people that actually, one is in South Africa, especially where all this different craziness is happening, and it's irrelevant to the topic that I want to cover. I'll be talking to him. His name is Bradley. The other person's name is Fab22. I'm not sure if he wants me to give out his first name, so I'll just call him Fab22 because that's where he goes by on Telegram. And he's in France, and I'm hoping to talk to him a little bit about the protests there and whatnot in France, and regarding the effect on both of them of all this chaos that's going on around them, and how they are and where they are and what their state of mind is. And it will give you probably an update that you might not find in the news by just directly speaking, to these people living in those countries. So in essence, the idea or the belief system is that what you perceive is your dimension. And it's basically you form your dimension by whatever is the strongest within you. So if you're generally a negative person and you just always think all this stuff is out there to bother you, to piss you off, to make you mad, and you basically will keep attracting more of that, because one of the experiences that I was having is that, there was nothing, there's nothing outside of you, everything, that's out there, it's a mirror back to you. So what you put out is what you get back. So if you're a generally negative person, you are reinforcing that reality constantly by these very things that you send out. And it's one of the perfect examples, and I love the analogy was given by Bashar, was to describe it, reality as a mirror. You cannot look into a mirror, frown and expect it to smile back at you first. You have to smile first in order to see the reflection that's within. And so when for example, a few years back when I made the decision, it's like, all right, I'm done with what's going on. I want to pursue more about, what is reality about? What is this world about? The UFOs, this metaphysical, where I was at, it was not conducive, to me. It was staying in a crowded house with my parents, not that I'm not grateful for them to provide that space, but it was, time to move. And I moved out, what some of you already know, to Robertsville, Missouri, which is 50 miles outside of the city. And basically in the woods, having a house by myself. And that's where a lot of the soul searching and changing of these belief systems, occurred for me. And one example from my personal experience is that I was leaving work, and I used to work for the largest newspaper in St. Louis, which is called the Post-Dispatch. And I was leaving, and I on the radio there was nothing. Everything was just fine. And I was switching different stations. It like I usually do, and so I couldn't find anything. So I just put on my own music, and just enjoy the ride home. It took about 50 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic. Well, only when I got home I learned that this what we know now, I guess, the Michael Brown riot started. And so I was, I wasn't aware of what was going on. And what's interesting is that, the way the media portrayed it, and the way it was, it's like it was one small block that basically all that was happening, but based on how media covers news, you would have thought entire St. Louis is on fire, and of course there were then, as time progressed after that, a few skirmishes here and there, but the point was that, for one, the media really misrepresented of how bad it really was, and two, the whole point was that that was not part of my reality. My reality was this peaceful, serene place that I wanted to go to, and although I was aware of it, where I was at, it was beautiful night sky with woods around me, stars out, crickets chirping, and it was just peaceful and serene, while all that stuff was going on in St. Louis. And so being aware of it doesn't mean that I have to make it part of my life. So I could have chosen to, like, oh my God, what's going on? And just injected myself into it. And then, basically reinforce that reality of, I need to know more about this or what's going on. And usually for a while I was debating, maybe should I take the camera down there or whatever, and the long story short, I ended up not going because I had a different mission. I had a different path that I wanted to go down to. And so while all the people that were involved, and all the stuff that was happening affected them greatly, within my immediate reality, it was peaceful and serene. It did not have to have anything to do with me. Only if I chose for it to be part of my life could it be part of my life, and then I would have intertwined myself in whatever is going on. But it was basically so many years later where I then moved 5 hours south, even further, and it was because I met the love of my life. I wanted to start a family, and just the way things worked out, that was my first and foremost drive and the reasoning to do what I did. Only in hindsight, looking back, by following my highest excitement, by doing exactly what I said, this excites me, I want to do this, this is what really truly represents me, did it put me in a position to where we had COVID. We had all these people that, states were shutting down. They were confined to their houses. There were, protests and riots going on, and all these things that were happening throughout cities, and cities were burning. But where I was and where I moved, because of my highest excitement first, put me in the position to where I wasn't part of any of that. I could have been the other way around, where I would have been in St. Louis and I would have been, making all these world's problems my problems, and so I would have been consumed by those, and basically, it would have been my reality, but instead it wasn't. And so that's one of the things that's a physical example that I can give you, but those are one of the things that were reflected back to me during, many different experiences that I had while I was in that time period in that house, learning and trying to discover what this reality is about. Is that something doesn't have to be part of your life if you don't want it to be part of your life. And so that's me in short covering, about what I mean with, as I mentioned here, is that your reality is a different dimension. And it's basically to say that you control what chaos or no chaos you have around you. It's I think I've used this example before. A lot of people in the city, when you live in a tight city, and you get up in the morning, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. The point is, everyone chose to be in a certain mood. They can say, oh, something just was pissing me off and I had no control of this, and then they get out, in the traffic, and then, they send that, pissy feeling out there, and then they keep getting people that cut them off, things that piss them off even more, because it's a self-enforcing loop. You as the source have to change out what you're sending, and whatever comes back, now you may look at the same scenario, but you're looking at it entirely differently, like a whole new person, to where you can still be in the same traffic as the other person. And so while they're sitting there losing their shit, you're just sitting there listening to some Mozart while you're on your way to work. And so those are kind of like these simplified and examples, in real life examples, that I could give you, that is how it actually works broken down. There's not, it's when you look at the grand scheme of things, it's very magical, but it's actually how this some of these spiritual concepts work. So I'm hoping I gave you enough of an example, real life example, what I mean, with the words I'm saying. Because sometimes when people get all spiritual, they just use these big words, and they don't necessarily help solidify that concept, to help give real life examples of how it would look. You being in your own dimension, your own world, living the way you want to live it, without being affected by anyone else. You could literally have the whole world falling around you, and, if you're not the vibration of that, even though you can perceive it, you will be just fine. You will not be hurt. Things, are not going to go the wrong way for you. You'll always find yourself at the right place at the right time. So, with that being said, let me then switch over to Telegram, and I want to talk to Bradley. Bradley actually lives in South Africa, and so I became aware of this a while back. He and I have been talking back and forth, and I've just kind of sent him a message saying, Bradley, are you okay? Because often, for those of you who do join Telegram, Bradley has been on Telegram often. So before I usually start a show, you might not know this, or you might, but I begin it about half hour beforehand, and so we just chat about whatever. It's just for me to get this to get the chat open and going while I'm setting everything else up. And so we kind of got to know each other in that way. So of course, when you basically get to know a person and feel connected to them, the first person on my mind was like, oh shoot, all this stuff is going on. How's Bradley doing? And so without any further ado, let me switch over to Telegram. I'm going to unmute Bradley. And Bradley, you're unmuted. Unmute yourself and say hello.
Hi, Adnan. Hi, everyone. Hope you're keeping well, Adnan.
Yes, I'm fine. I'm glad you're okay. And so anyway, you probably heard what I just said about us, staying in touch. So, Bradley, can you at least just describe the situation. What started out? What what was the catalyst to basically get all this craziness started in South Africa?
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to try to give you as much detail in short amount of time as possible because it's a very long story. Um, Basically, we had a president called Jacob Zuma. He comes from a literal tribe. I'm not trying to be facetious when I say that. In South Africa, the black people are divided into tribes, and his tribe is the Zulu people. And they renown people for being like a warrior race. They're very, very aggressive people just by nature. They're not horrible people. They're just forceful. That's the way they are. But unfortunately, they also go by what we call Induna mentality, meaning they follow the king. In this case, that's Jacob Zuma. So if Jacob Zuma says jump in the river, that's exactly what that whole nation does, which is about a couple million people worth. Anyway, what happened is Jacob Zuma instigated a state capture. So, in other words, started misappropriating state funds and started basically selling South Africa's infrastructure off, and he got caught. So he was obviously taken out of presidency, and now he got jailed 3 days ago. So in the wake of this, the whole population, his population, are the poorest in the country. So they started a riot initially to get him out of jail. But then the riot developed into looting and it developed into burning infrastructure, and it's complete, utter chaos. We've got people killing each other in the roads. We've got people killing children. We've got food being looted. We've got police just overwhelmed. The South African army has been called in the last 2 days, and unfortunately, when the army gets called in, they're not political. They shoot first and ask later. If you watch the news, you will literally see cities burning to the ground. If you've ever seen a zombie apocalypse movie, this is what South Africa is in at the moment. We've got residents that are blocking their areas off with AR-15 rifles, which is basically an automatic rifle, and they're just shooting people as they're running down the road. It's a horrific sight. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the political background, I mean, there's a lot more to that. But yeah, I'm just trying to keep it very short for you guys so you understand it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So I know I want to ask you more about that, but just kind of help cover these different the points that I was talking about earlier. You were talking about yourself, and then a reference regarding your dad. Do you mind maybe going into that? And this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
in
yeah,
reference to
yeah.
what I
I don't
was
mind
saying
that.
about your reality is a different dimension. So I figured it would be a great story in support.
Yeah, I mean, you were referencing Bashar, right? So to take sort of a reference from Bashar, he said no matter how negative it looks, just make sure that something positive will come out of it. And what it was in my life, I had a medical condition for the last 4 years that I've had to recover from. And during that process, I lost a lot of people, and I ended up moving down to a different province in South Africa, which is the only province which has not been affected by the riots and the violence and all the insanity that's going on. However, my father is one of the most negative, racist people you will meet. Um, I understand why he's that way, but as you say, it's a choice at the end of the day. And he's stuck right in the thick of the bullshit that's going on. Sorry for swearing online there,
No,
but
there's no
he's
limit here for that.
yeah. So he's stuck right, literally in the violence where they're struggling to get bread. Never mind, water or anything like that. It's bad. Um, but if we make the reference to what you were talking about, I mean, he's the complete opposite of me. He's got nothing that to say anything nice about any other race. On top of that, he's completely negative, completely. And he's not a stupid man. So what I'm saying is
Right.
he's conscious of what he's doing. So yeah, I mean, if I look at my life, I'm not the most conscious person, but I'm certainly not a. I don't go around swearing other races. I don't go around, trying to pick people apart and segregate them and do all this kind of rubbish. And I look at my life, although it sort of fell apart, I'm in a safe haven. I'm literally standing in a community park talking to you right now with no issues.
Right. Well, and not only that, I would think whatever was going on with you, you were searching, you were looking to this I don't want to call it solution, but a way of life that would make you more happy. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, if we're going to go that far, I mean, my life previously to sort of my medical problems was completely typical capitalist America. It was numbers driven, it was money driven, it was the whole lifestyle and all that bullshit that came with it. And those kind of people, forgive me for saying this, there's no emotion. Everything is just numbers. If you see a person, it's not about the person, it's about what are we getting from them. And since I had my medical issues where I've had a sort of chance to rethink life, I can't get along with these people anymore. I still know them. They still live here. They still do their thing, but I can't have a conversation with them. I've tried. There's just no, what was the word I used earlier? There's no vibe there. There's no that. It's like an energy mismatch.
Hmm.
No matter how nice you be to the guys, you just can't get along with them. It's crazy.
Like it
But
all changed
in my
because
mind,
like, there's something within you that changed.
yeah, 100%. I mean, in my mind, it's taken me years to figure this out. But in my mind, I actually remember the day that I went, "What am I doing?" I remember I was sitting in a board meeting and I sat there and I went, "What am I doing?" And it was about 2 weeks after that, everything just changed. And I mean, everything, right from my health to my world, my views, my everything just completely changed. Unfortunately, because of the health situation, I overthought it, but that's okay. That's life.
Right. Well, no, I just I wanted to hear from you and generally about what's going on there, but only when we were talking more did it kind of hit me that here we are on two different sides of the world. You can have different conflicts, but if you're not the vibration of that, it's can't touch you.
Yeah, I'm starting to believe that because if I look, the word we used was synchronicity. I mean, I got no other way of explaining what's happening to me at the moment because, as I say, I've been through a series of bad events, personally, in terms of people passing and all sorts of things. But here I am, no problem. I'm literally standing here untouched.
Right,
which,
right,
if you watch the new, which if you watch the news, is freaking amazing.
right. But it's
You
I
know,
think it's important that it truly has to be a true change within. You can't fake it. You can't fake it because vibrations, there's it's a very cannot be counterfeited. And it's basically, you have to either truly buy into it and make it be your reality, or you're gonna get smacked in the face every time saying, but I was all positive. I don't understand. Why do I have all this stuff in my life? It's like, well, I'm sorry to say, but there's a lot more homework you got to do.
yeah, yeah. I mean, forgive my analogy for what I'm about to say, but I come from a religious family, very, very religious family. We're talking about people that literally built a church brick by brick. Um, and, I was always told from a young age that no matter what you do, you are responsible. That's the end of it. There's no argument, there's no blaming. You decided to do this, you bear the consequences or you bear the fruits, whichever way you go.
Hmm.
Um, and when you take that to a new age translation, basically it's that, you know. If you like I was, if you're gonna go around being this capitalistic asshole, just thinking of people as deep pockets, you're gonna end up in a bad space. And the funny thing is, when I changed, I mean, I look at today, those guys who are in the deep pockets are right in the thick of the bullshit. They're the guys getting shot at.
Right, right, right,
So, okay, I may not have the lifestyle like I used to, but I'm alive, I'm safe, I've got a roof over my head, and I can eat. And I'm standing in perfect safety talking to you guys halfway around the planet.
right. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, wouldn't you think that the happiness you were able to find now, outnumbers, and I guess in a way overtakes, any kind of happiness that you possibly could have gained before you decided you change?
I'll be honest with you, and I don't think I decided. I think I was forced. I truly believe this. When I look at my
Right,
life, I honestly believe that I was forced for whatever reason, yet to be seen. But,
right,
there's things that I would have never noticed that I see today, that I would have never noticed 4 years ago. Simple little things like happy family that didn't exist in my world, not at
Right.
all. There was only in my world there were rich happy families or poor happy families, and that's it. So in other words, my whole worldview was revolving around money acquisition and bullshit.
Right.
today, today, as I say, besides what's going on in the country, eh, I've actually started to notice things like community and how important it is to actually see people as people. In other words, people can make mistakes and that's okay. Not people make mistakes, fire them and hit them in the ground. So it's a complete for me. It's a complete 180.
Right. Well, so regarding what else is going on there, so today, and this is just purely from a news aspect, there was supposed to be what initially 25,000 troops dispatched to quench the riots, and now it's been what the entire National Reserve.
Yeah, yeah, correct, 100%. The thing is with the, I think I have to backtrack here a little bit.
Sure.
The rioters and looters that are basically destroying the country. It's not even about looting; it's destroying. They're burning infrastructure. They're burning everything. They even tried to rush residential houses. Now, what I'm saying is these people are not hungry. They're stealing 42-inch TVs. They're stealing fridges. They're taking cars off the showroom floor. This is not hungry people. So, and on top of that, these guys are not, how do I put it? They're not educated, and that's, well, the whole country's fault, quite frankly. But
Right.
it is what it is. They're not educated. They're taking orders and they're doing these horrendous acts, and I mean horrendous. So the police can't get this under control in any civil way. And when you've got residents willing to basically shoot to kill, it's disgusting. It's inhumane. Now, with the army taking place, it's a bit more of deterrent because, well, when you see a tank, you usually run the other way. Um, but if they don't, Edna, I'm seriously worried because it's literally a massacre. And
Right.
regardless of what they've done, nobody deserves to be shot dead like that.
Yeah. No. We were. Similar thing here happening in the United States too, where when you're outside of this blindfold, it kind of puts you in this neutral position to just look at the situation and many different situations from like a neutral point of view, to where it gives you an entirely different understanding of what in the world is going on. And so one thing that I saw here in the United States is like all these people running around just destroying everything, and just screaming on top of their lungs. It's like freedom. I'm like, who the fuck is oppressing you?
Oh
You know?
God.
And it's one of these things to where you kind of looking around as a foreigner myself, and basically ever since I was 8 when we fled Bosnia, I've been a foreigner in every country I went to, you know. And the thing is, especially, having lived in the United States for as long as I have, I'm kind of in the heart of what you call the Bible Belt. It's what's called the Bible Belt in the United States. And man, what a difference of a world, because I bought into what was told to me in the cities. Only when I moved outside of that to see it for myself did I really see America and Americans, in actual American food. Because in the cities there's always all this stuff that's a version of. You have, they're like, oh, we got bratwurst and sauerkraut. I'm like, that's German. They're like, we got hamburgers and this. I'm like, that's this country. We have, chicken fried rice. I'm like, that's Asian. Chinese. So whatever. you know and so, anyway, it kind of puts you in this, neutral position, to where you look at this. I'm like, well, okay, it's not my reality. I understand. Whatever I need to do, I went and did. But you can see a script. You can see a script that something is going on, and it's being pushed by whatever mainstream media is out there. There's, God love them, there's Fox News here. They're trying to be, the opposite view, but even they are, very much scripted. It was very clear during the elections that were going on here that, who's running the show, and what side they're really on. The point here is, it's not about sides, it's about truth. And none of the mainstream media, chose truth. When you look at them and what they tell you, you can within 5 minutes find an opposite view, and if not find a contradiction, that would, prove it with a fact. But it's only possible when you really stay in this neutral point. Do you have anything to say regarding that? About the certain state of mind and looking at information from a neutral point.
Oh, oh yes. A major part of my career has been about information analysis, particularly for security purposes. And I can tell you something. I can give a piece of data to you and myself. Even though we probably have similar mindsets, we would come up with two totally different outcomes or interpretations of that data. And that's purely because we're human. We've each got our biases, we've each got our experiences, which sort of dictates the way we are and think for most people. Some people have gone beyond that, but very few. So what I'm saying is like, if you remember, this is a human issue and not a, how do I put it, a agenda issue.
Hmm.
Then the people at the news are also human. So no matter what data you give them, they're going to interpret it the way they can. What makes it bad, though, is when you do have an agenda running in tandem with that, because now you've got a recipe for disaster, because now
Hmm.
you've got bias, which is already not truth, and you've got whatever agenda running in the mix. Now, what do you end up with? Fucking chicken soup. Who knows?
So do you see that a
you know,
lot in the media now in South Africa? Like, how hard is it to find information, accurate information about what's going on?
oh no, look, at the moment, it's blatant. They can't. There's zero agenda at the moment because it's so bad. I mean, we can look out our windows and see black smoke coming out the place. It's literally a war playground.
You mean, as the
There's
saying
no way
goes,
the
they
media.
can't sugarcoat this one?
Exactly, exactly. You know, uh, so I mean, the media are pretty tired. But prior to that, in South Africa, we have what's called SABC, South African Broadcast Communications or Channel. That's the main sort of local news. Then you've got another channel called E News. Now, if you watched E News, it's owned by a businessman, but it's very pro ANC, which is the major governing political party. Now, when you watch that news channel, everything is our glorious leader, our this, our that. It's all bullshit, all utter bullshit. You might as well just brainwash yourself. When you switch to SABC, now you've got a problem because you've got three channels: one aimed for black people, one aimed for Indian people, and the other one for white people. And it's blatant. It's not even, how do I put it? It's not sugarcoated. Any idiot can tell you that what they put on there is tailored for a specific nation. Now, what I'm saying is, how are you going to promote unity when you're preaching three different messages?
Hmm.
It's impossible. It's
Right.
impossible. But but unfortunately, like I said, the masses in SA are not educated, so they get away with it,
Right.
and hence, hence the shit we in.
Right. 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 Well, some of you out there
Yeah, I mean,
watching, if there's something in the comments that you would like to write out your story, please do. If it's something you want me to look at and read out on the stream, please make sure to use the 3 stars before you put your statement down. I'd appreciate that. So that way I know it's meant
I,
for me to go out there. I'm sorry, Bradley, go ahead.
all right. I just want to add one thing to that. I am going to state that this is secondhand information, so obviously it's subject to error. Um, a friend of my dad was a intelligence officer back in apartheid years. For those who don't know, apartheid was segregation, where black people stayed in one area, Indian people another area, and white people in another area. It was a complete nightmare. So, in other words, if anyone went over the lines, basically you were shot and killed. End of story. That only ended in 1994. So, this is not, that long ago. So, anyway, just talking about the news, this man's job was to go into universities and sway lecturers for basically altering the history books towards the what's the word I'm looking for? The governing party's interests at the time. Now that I know firsthand, I was sitting there while this arsehole was being very proud of this. So what I'm saying is if that happened, let's just say that's not happening today.
Right. I don't think it ever stopped. You know, to be honest, I don't know why I said to be honest. I don't know why. Sometimes it's a
Yeah.
habit before you start a sentence. It really would make no sense to say that. But there's a documentary I learned of today, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's actually very interesting. I would recommend that to everybody. It's about propaganda, you know, and the history of propaganda and how it came about. And it's, like with everything in my life, I'm going to take it in, watch it. I don't know that I can, maybe many years down the road, maybe a few weeks, later, I'll get other, more supporting facts about whether or not how accurate that documentary is. But it seemed interesting, just a little bit that I watched. Hopefully, I'll, if it's not too late today, and if I have some energy, I might want to sit down and watch it with my wife. But it's called, what is it called? Let me see here. I want to find a name here real quick. And it basically starts out with Sigmund Freud and his nephew, I believe, and all that stuff that um, kind of started out the concept of propaganda. Okay, let me see here.
Oh, it's got to be World War II.
Okay, I'm glad that didn't blare into the ears of everyone. I have, yeah, because I opened this video and it just um, was just blasting into my ears. It's called the Century of Self, and it came out in 2002. And I believe there's a free version of it online if you just search the Century of Self, and it would come up on YouTube, so you can watch it. And it seemed it's it's in a 4:3 format, so it's not your typical widescreen, because 2002 they haven't quite shifted over to 16:9 yet. But anyway, what I was going to say, it seems something. It seems like it would have a lot of information that I might want to know about. Okay, so Bradley, do you mind then if I put you on hold and then check with Fab22 and then talk to him about friends?
Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity for,
Yeah,
trying to get you guys the right info from sort of someone who's in the thick of it, rather than trying to listen through all the relevant channels which normally get it wrong. So thanks for
right.
that.
No, thank you. And hang tight. I know you usually do. I might come back to you, but I can't make any promises.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Let me see how. Just real quick before I switch over, I want to see how the chat is going. Adam Eater, welcome. Paul, welcome. The Fruity Yogi, welcome. Says check out Cosmic Agency, best disclosure UFO channel. Y'all make sure you check that channel out. Fab22, welcome. And Mohawk6, welcome. So, Fab, I hope you are ready. I've unmuted you. Unmute yourself and say hello.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. As you know, it's a bit early, so it's all right. I had my coffee, my cigarette. I'm good now.
So, Fab, please tell me about. I guess we talked about it a little bit earlier today, and I want to hear your thoughts about, the subject I was covering about earlier today, about what's going on in France. Is they call it what the Bastille Day protest, and can you speak a little bit about that, please?
Yes, I can, of course. I haven't got the TV. Why am I? It's I'm a little bit recluse from all what is news, etc. I do follow it though on social media, just to keep a little bit alive in this world. But it seems that we had a few protests in a few cities. Luckily, it's not gone to the stage that we do see in South Africa. And all my thought and prayers actually do go there. It's very terrible what's happening. But over here we've had yes, a few protests. It's been pretty quiet as far as violence is concerned. I think the government, the anti-riot forces that we have, they've been pretty quick to sort of quell any sort of bad stuff going on. But obviously people are extremely frustrated over here. I believe also
And this
in
is
England.
regarding, if I'm not mistaken, this is regarding mandatory vaccination, right?
Yes, that's the one. It's starting to get that way. Our government is really trying to push the law that you need to be vaccinated, and if you're not, you find yourself extremely restricted in your daily life. As an example, you cannot go to a supermarket to buy food. If you're not vaccinated, you need to have a health passport. So you need to have documentation that prove that you've been vaccinated. If you have that, you can go on buy food. And if you don't have it, then you can't go on buy food. You cannot use public transport. You pretty much confined back home, basically, and you're not basically allowed to live life. So obviously, the majority of people are a little bit concerned about that. There's been a few protests, not so many. It's the police reckon about 20,000 people, so let's say about 20 or 200,000 people in truth. Unfortunately, we have a Europe when there is a protest, there is a group which is specialized in creating mayhem. So every time there is a protest somewhere, there's a small group of people, anarchists or whatever you want to call them, that quite simply uses that situation to go on riot, on burn things, on destroy things, etc. So
would you say they give the protest a bad name?
Exactly that. Well, that's exactly that. And so what starts up as a peaceful protest, ends up being a riot with the anti-riot people just doing their job basically and running into that. So it kind of looks like the protests have been quashed, very quickly, which is a good thing. But unfortunately, the real message, the true message that people have, is actually being distorted in such a way that that the government goes in here and listen, there is riots, so therefore everybody needs to go home.
Are you so? Would you hold on just real quick? You mean the riots are quelled quickly because protest by definition is not violent. Protest is just simply protesting against something you don't agree. I mean, are we on the same page regarding that?
We are exactly on the same page. Okay. In France, you do have the right to protest. Obviously, you need to have authorization through the mayor to protest, and once the authorization has been given, then you can go and protest. You basically decide, listen, I'm going to go in that street, to that street in this town with that many thousand people or whatever it is, right? And we are warning you in advance that the people are going to go in the street, right? And to quite easily and simply start to demonstrate that we're not happy about this, we're not happy about that. And when this is authorized, you have the right to go and protest.
Right.
Right. Okay. And usually when it gets out of hand, I was talking about this small group of people, all right, they actually intermingled with the protester and then starts creating mayhem. They start burning things, cars, throwing stones, pillaging stores, etc., in such a way that the police has to respond, and basically it turns into a sort of street fight.
Fab, what I don't understand is, I don't know if you can speak to this, these different presidents and officials that were elected, to be basically
Yes.
managing the country and all these different things. How
Mhm.
do they not see that this is, stepping over into dictatorship, to where you now are going to go against what people want, and you're going to make your own statement because it's for their safety. Therefore, you're just going to implement it no matter what they think about or feel about. Why do they, especially in Europe and France, you would have thought they understood the difference between governing body and a dictatorship.
Well, it all goes under the famous label of democracy. And as soon as you promote an idea which is better for democracy, then everybody's supposed to buy into this, right? And this has been done since the beginning. We're talking about Bastille Day, really, when the power was given back to the people, and that worked out quite all right, actually. We started to make a lot of changes, which was really good. And obviously, when this power was started to really come out with some good thing, there were some seeds planted there for the freedom of the people. Well, obviously, all this has been, let's say, hijacked by certain groups of people. And I think I've got a good analogy here with what happened in Russia when they had the revolution with communism and everything. And the, everything was shared. It was really coming from a very good idea, but somewhere along the line, some group of people decided to simply hijack all this, and from democracy we turned back into a autocracy, oligarchy, with a few people holding the reins, basically holding all the decisions, right? Except that they are not dictators, they are not kings, they are just some people that have been elected, and they've just taken the opportunity to push an agenda, I suppose.
Right. So, Fab,
And
can you speak a little
they
bit
will know.
about what I was mentioning earlier about, but all the stuff going on? And this is even before that. Wasn't there a I'm sorry, I might butcher this. They call them the green shirts. Wasn't there a protest?
Gilet jaune, it's yellow actually. Yeah, yellow
Uh,
shirts.
oh,
Yes,
yellow
yes.
shirts. Okay, I'm sorry. And so that was going on for a while too. For I want to say over a year, if not 2 years. Am I wrong?
That was massive. That was absolutely massive. Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
And so even
And
with that going on, and then this coming up, you still looks like you still found yourself in in an area where
yes,
it even though you know about it, it didn't affect you.
yes, yes. I'm very far away from everything. You see, with the Gilet jaune, there was so many people involved with that, millions and millions of people with protests and so forth, that it started to get a little bit uncomfortable for the power structures that we have. And there were really some changes just about to happen. But guess what? COVID-19 happened. And with
Ah,
COVID-19, we all got assigned to residence, and the movement in itself, which was really starting to get some and produce some positive results, got totally quenched. You could not protest anymore. It was against the law. You could not go in the street, because of the contagion, because of that virus, right? So I think the COVID-19, came at a very, very good opportune time. It was a very good time for that COVID-19 to happen.
right,
So
right.
that gives you a little bit of perspective as well, on and so that protest is starting to rise again on the different ideals, let's say, but that's it. You just cannot do that. You just can't do it anymore.
Right. So, again, so what about you then regarding your position? Were you, can you speak a little bit about what I was covering earlier regarding, your situation of how you ended up being where you are, and how much of that affected you immediately? What I'm saying is, can you speak to what I was starting out earlier regarding your reality is a different dimension?
Fortunately, I live in an area which is quite secluded. There's not many people around me. I think the closest village is about 5 k's away. The closest town is about 15 k's away. I live in a very beautiful area. I've got the river right next to my door. I've got trees everywhere. It's very, very country. Like it's actually it's quite simply a beautiful place. So luckily, it's quite easy to step away from all this news that we are getting. If I quite simply choose not to participate in that, I don't have a TV, for example. I listen to a little bit of radio. Obviously, I am plugged in both through social media, etc. So it's quite easy to step back, and choose not to listen to that propaganda that falls onto you every day. One day they tell you something, another day they tell you something, right? And when I do communicate with people that live, let's say, in cities that have a normal lifestyle, obviously they sort of wall encased into that sort of environment, and it's very hard for those people to actually step back and have a introspection, a personal view on what is happening without having to sort of follow the mainstream of ideas. Right? So I'm lucky with that. However, for people that live in city, for people that do not have the chance to sort of have that step back and have a proper view on what's going on, with a little bit of self-reflection, with let's say a positive point of view, then it is much more difficult for those people to have a clear mind, to have a sort of to have the freedom, to quite simply have a look at the situation and who knows, take some positive aspects, and integrate that into their own lives, so the whole thing comes out with a positive outlook. It is very hard. It is very hard to do. If we go back to South Africa, from what we've heard, we've got luckily some first-hand testimonies of what's going on there. It doesn't matter if you want to be peaceful. It doesn't matter if you are there going, oh yeah, it's going to be positive. When you have mayhem around you, when you've got fire, when you can hear people getting shot, when you can hear people not being very happy, then it's very hard to sort of have that structure of peace and love and stepping back from this crazy machine right now that's, by the look of things,
you were saying you were lucky. It's a decision you made for whatever the reason is, to be and live where you live. So it's not necessarily luck. It's for you to end up to be where you are, because there's then something within you that says, this is how I want to live. This is where I want to be. Even though as much as info that you get with all the world going on, all crazy. It's like you don't have to be part of it. And it's like, and it seems like that you've chosen quite some time ago not to be part of it, because it's not like, if you really want to be part of it, you can get in your car and drive out there and be in the midst of it. But instead you didn't, for whatever other reason, I'm sure you chose to live there, because I hope there's a desire there in some way, but the point is, it was a choice made, whether you realize it or not, just my opinion.
Yes, indeed. Also, we need to have the opportunity and the resources to do that. Luckily enough, I'm in an old family home. I'm in a piece of land. The family's been here for about 600 years, and one of the houses, it's an old mill actually. We used to make flowers here since before the revolution. And there you go. Luckily enough, I had the opportunity to go with what I wanted, to just go, I don't want to be part of all this madness, in town. And I think a lot of people want to do that, but, they have mortgages, they have a family, they have a job to go by. And even if you wish to withdraw yourself from all that, unfortunately, you are in a situation that your daily life, cannot lead you to make that step to actually leave it all and go somewhere which is much more peaceful.
Right.
So there is not only the desire for change, we need to also have the environment, which is conducive to that change. And I think the majority of people that even if they feel uncomfortable living in a city, being in the right race, even if they want to leave all that and pursue a life, which is much healthier for themselves, for their community, and the country and the planet, well, they're not really in that position to do that, unfortunately.
Right. Well, it's
so even if we want to change our reality,
right. No,
yeah,
I was just going to say there were, so many people always would ask when I would be at these different, different meetings, or different conferences. They always speak about it in this fearful way, especially if you ever listen to Coast AM, they would basically, talk always about, when somebody's on and they tell them about all these things going to be happening. And, anytime there's some kind of mayhem happening, they're like, where should I move? Where should I go? Please tell me, is it going here good? What, should I have water? Should I have this? Should I have that? And so it's always these decisions made from this very fearful, panicky state of mind. And that's when it's so difficult to talk to a person in that way, to tell them, you are literally attracting that. You're literally attracting that you by putting that out of where do I need to be safe, you're inadvertently creating an environment where you are put where you don't feel safe, so that you can act on the part of getting yourself to be safe. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
It's like they're creating this place. It's like, move where you want to because your heart desires it. Do what you want because it's made from this peaceful state of mind, and everything else will work itself out. Because the mind is not, it's not designed to think, and basically work out all these different scenarios. It's actually, very. I guess I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's like just really dumb. All it knows is what's immediately in front of it. It's either okay or it's something is a threat, and then move to the next thing. It's okay or a threat, and that's how things are constantly processed. You don't sit there and go, having this understanding that, if I go this direction, this is going to happen, and you have a vision of this or whatever. Most of us don't, and so because the mind is created to just simply be a receiver. Whatever is coming in from your higher self. So, why put the ego, this dumb part of you, in charge when it doesn't know what it's doing anyway? It just immediately deals with threats, or it doesn't, and so, it's that feeling that, the feeling of being in love, the feeling of, basically whatever excites you is what will lead you to more of who you are. The places and people, will be attracted to you based on making that decision. Because it was exciting to me to, obviously, I'm going to be living with the love of my life. So I was like, yeah, I'm moving down south. I don't care. And so that was my desire. It was, I wasn't making the decision of, am I making the right choice? Is this stupid? Should I wait? Should I ask my friend? Should I ask several people? Let's see what they think. What are their opinions? It's like there was none of that. It was like, at this moment, this is what my heart is telling me. This is what I'm going after. And then only in the long run, in hindsight, you realize, it put me in the perfect position to be where I need to be, because my state never shut down. There were it wasn't a mandate, it was a recommendation for those who wanted to wear a mask, wear it. For those that don't, and life was just normal, only when I hear from friends and family, like, we can't get out, we can't do this. And you can hear it in their voices. They're talking about it in this fearful way. It bogged them down, and it was, there's nothing I can do. I can only lend an ear, I understand, to be sincere, and then just kind of like, okay, I have a good day. I hope you make different decisions next time. Other than that, there's nothing I can do for you. It's something you have to do for yourself.
Yes, indeed. It seems that the human race, in its proper makeup, genetical makeup, is a machine built for survival. It's as simple as that. Luckily, we've got a brain. We've got a heart. And it is clear that somebody that's got, let's say, love and peace in his or her heart can go into an environment, which is the mayhem, basically, where you've got lots of trouble. If you bring that peace and love, you will make a difference. And it is quite clear as well that somebody that's got an agenda, which is more towards hatred, towards just serving of self, if that person go into a peaceful environment, obviously, well, that attitude is going to change things. But also there is the situation when even with the best intention in the world, you will find yourself in an environment, which is not going to be conducive to have some positive changes. It is quite clear. It is quite clear that somewhere along the line, we need to sort of slow down a little bit, find the time to do a little bit of introspection, and there is a little bit of self-education, to understand how the mind works, and we do have the tools for that. But we need to take the time to just step away a little bit, maybe 10 to 15, 20 minutes a day. Some people call it meditation, but we can do that with studies as well. There are wonderful tools like NLP, for example, neuro-linguistic programming. We can find some courses online, which will actually basically, it's a science, that will basically teach you all what you need to know, right, to basically have a change of mind and have a change of heart, how to look at different point of views in such a way that you can actually create a reality for yourself, which is more in power, which is more within all the structure that you have, may it be your belief, may it be your values.
Hold on. You said the last thing I heard was your belief, and then you went out. What else? What followed after that?
Yes, what I was saying basically that there are definitely some means, for us to find the time. Finding the time is quite easy. You just make a decision to find the time. Although it's quite complicated when you have a family, when you have a job, and all that goes with it. Right? But once
it is a decision,
time,
but it's also, you have to, figure out for yourself what's more important. It's like, yeah, we all have family, but, when are you going to take the time to work on yourself? If you don't, that means you're not getting the best version of you. Your family's not getting the best version of you, and you're just postponing whatever you can be figuring out and fixing, that much sooner. At the end of the day, it is a decision, a desire for a change, and you just stick with it.
Absolutely. And also we have the opportunity to understand the mechanism, the ways, the reason why, and especially the mechanism that actually are constructive to have a change towards that. And I'm talking about your beliefs, I'm talking about your memories, I'm talking about your values, I'm talking about your attitudes. And once we understand how that works into our mind on a psychological point of view, on a personal point of view, on a sociological point of view, and it's not all that hard. It's very easy to go online to some very serious sites. It is a science. And once we understand how life is being filtered through our consciousness, and we understand that if I do that, it's because of that. There are some precursor regarding this. Then it is possible, I believe, to, it's not actually a belief, it's just a matter of fact, to somehow look at your reality. And may it be political, may it be religious, may it be sociological, may it be as well anything to do with the UFOs. Right? All this is being filtered through our experience that we have right now.
Right.
And by taking the time, stepping back a little bit and trying to understand what is actually going on within and how this can be reflected onto our reality outside, being the environment, when there are changes that can actually happen, that we can make happen, and we are not just a slave of whatever is going on. We can make a few changes.
Right. Well, that's a good point you make, because if I noticed that actually a lot, people that are into the, ufology, and that's their main goal, everything that happens around the world, they'll be like, oh, we were so close from getting answers about UFOs, and then the pandemic happened. They're like, it was planned. They always distract us. And then there's other person that they would look at it more from a different point of view, and let's say they look at it as from the Illuminati point of view, and they were like, oh, we were about to find out the truth about Epstein, and then the pandemic happened, right? And there's all these other stuff, and then just going along with what you were saying, their mindset, whatever they focused on, is filtered through that. It's very challenging, but it's not impossible to be neutral, to try to be neutral and like truly look at a picture, but without applying any kind of belief system to it. And it will tell you a different story. Only when you're in that neutral position are you going to see a bigger picture, whether it's regarding your own life, regarding what's going on out there, but if you're set with a certain mindset, everything is filtered through that. So for example, like there's been there was this mural or a picture, what I can't pronounce it right, but it's a picture of George Floyd in Minneapolis that was drawn on a wall, and a lightning struck it and destroyed it. And so of course then from the mindset of now, it's almost, it's like, if you're from a religious point of view, you can look at it and say, haha, God doesn't approve of this. You know what I mean? Because it was an act
Yes.
of God, lightning and natural things like that. And so of course, whatever your focusing lens is, that's how your point of view is going to be skewed. It's no different than, perfect example, how you view the world as a 5-year-old is definitely not how you view the world as a 50-year-old. And just knowing that you would have several different points of views, it's almost always best to just like, if I'm swayed one way or the other, that means I'm not in a neutral spot. And if I really want to know the truth, if I really want to get to the bottom of it, I have to do my best to get to the neutral spot. Get there, and only then can you see both sides at play.
Absolutely. We need to see both sides. We need to see both sides.
Right. So, Fab, let me make a quick announcement.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I'll get back to you in just a few seconds. So for those of you watching, we're just basically kind of talking about whatever, basically about the subject or the topic that I was starting out with earlier, which is your reality is a different dimension, and we're talking about from different perspectives and point of views, but we're not limited to that. So if you would like to share a story, or whether it's a UFO story, ghost story, any of the metaphysical things that you experience, simply download the Telegram app, go to the UFO Hub group, and it's also in the description below, and you'll see a live voice chat going on right now. Join it, and you'll be added to the list. Right now, there's only Fab22 and Nathan, and you add yourself to that list. Make sure you tap that little person to raise your hand, which would tell me that you want to talk to me. Otherwise, you can just use Telegram to listen to what's going on, because I'm also simultaneously casting to Telegram as well. And so if you want to talk to me and share your story, just let me know. I'm going to be also going over to see if there's anyone in the comments, if they have something to say there, but mainly it's the Telegram focus to just talk to whoever is there. So Fab agreed earlier today to cover just the perspective from a Frenchman living in France about what's going on. And so I asked him to come on. But again, it's not limited to just Fab. You can also log in yourself and share your story. So don't hesitate. And if there's not that many going to be added sometime soon, we might make it quits earlier. We might actually hit onto a new subject that'll make us go on for another hour. I never know, but just log in as soon as you can, either to listen or to share your story with me directly. Also, Real quick, there's going to be this Friday. I don't know who's going to be the guest, because usually Wednesday at 7 is open lines. Friday at 7 is an interview with a guest that you can also use Telegram to ask a question of them directly, or put the question down in chat. But on Monday is where I usually do not stream, but I'm going to have to change it around, and I'm actually going to have George Nori from Coast to Coast AM on, and he's going to be on for about 45 minutes. And so please make sure you logged in and ready on Telegram to be able to ask him a question yourself, because I think we're going to very soon, maybe after a 10-minute intro or so, or just a 10-minute I guess info exchange, we're going to go straight into Q&A. So then I will be asking your questions and presenting them to him. And of course, if you logged into Telegram, you ask it yourself. So Monday at 7 it's going to be a different time, but that was the only time that I could work it out with him to have him come on, because he's busy with his show that he does and other things. So I was very grateful he took the time. And that would be, let me see here. That would be July 19th. So this coming next Monday at 7, I'm going to have George Nori. So I hope you log in and have your questions ready, either on your on the chat or in Telegram. Okay, Fab, I'm sorry. I just needed to make that announcement. I had forgotten earlier, and I just wanted to get that off my chest.
Most excellent. We know what's going on with the net podcast, so I will make sure that I will be there to listen and get a lot of point of views, that your podcast offers to people. As I often mention, thank you for being there. It's a good thing we have. And as far as we were talking about before, I think it's a great opportunity for us on a personal level, and also as a collective. It's a great opportunity to actually work on a few issues that we have. It seems to me that it will bring forth, the elements, the key aspect that we need to perhaps start making a bit more sense with what's going on with the so-called UFO phenomena. With all the interaction that some people it's by the millions, we all know that now, all the interaction that we're having with other dimensions, with other species, and with what's going on planet Earth right now, maybe COVID-19 or whatever. I think we can turn that into something positive, find the tools and the necessary means to really understand what sort of reality we are actually imbued into, and what needs to be done to find some sort of consensus, to find some sort of togetherness, to find some sort of unity, that somehow this civilization, which are not from this planet, find themselves also in a situation that the interaction that we're having with them, we're having together, can be a bit more constructive. It seems to me, with the few interactions that I have, they've never been quite, let's say, democratic. For the experiences, we seem to be in situation that we do not have much, let's say, personal control. We don't really kind of understand what's going on. We're sort of thrown into a situation, and it's quite hard later on, as the days go by, as the weeks go by, to actually make sense out of it, because it's so outwardly. There are questions down there that we are asking, and we're not getting the answers, and probably it's because we're not asking the right questions. And I really hope that this problem that we're having with the COVID-19, will have a positive, let's say, end to it, and force us to ask the right question about ourselves, about the reality that we're into, about the society, about the way that we are treating the planet Earth. And I think once we've got that solved, or at least have some sort of consensus, at least have some sort of togetherness and it doesn't mean, all must believe the same, etc., but at least stopping this great divide that there is, then perhaps the interaction that we're having with the UFOs, that we're having with other beings, might turn up to be a bit more positive and a bit more constructive, and that's what I'm really hoping for.
Right. Well, there was something you touched on earlier, and I wanted to speak on that. Always regarding unity. Whether it's UFO related or otherwise. It's difficult to find unity when there's a huge discrepancy, or I should say, a huge divide going on in the sense of, let's say you absolutely don't want to be forced for the vaccination and mandated masks, right? And they say, well, for you, the only way you can get to the store for you to get food is by you being basically abiding by what you're told. That's not a unifying, message. That's not a unifying environment. It's basically designing a fracture. It's designing that
Yes.
the only way this could work out is that if you either abide or you're not part of society, so to say. And it's like, you know, there's, everyone keeps talking about unity, unity. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about the politician wise, but everything they do, they make it divisive. They make it say, let's
Yes.
unify, but you have to do what you don't want to. It's like, well, I'm sorry, then I can't go that direction. That's not unity. That's not, working it out to where it works for me and you. You only want your way, and you're not, taking my state of, my state into consideration whatsoever.
Yes.
That's what's so difficult. It's yeah, unity is, it only works when there's actually, because if there were, let's say if there was two choices, right? If there were two choices and that would accommodate both people, right? If then somebody's being difficult, then they're just being silly, right? Because if there's let's say a mask mandate, and they say, like it was in the state, they said, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask, right? That was a unifying message. Well, when it comes to this whatever larger script to the picture, all of a sudden those not wearing a mask were demonized, and so, even though, the governor tried to have it in this unifying ways, because he didn't say, I'm going to pick a side with one group of people and only going to go with them, and so, that's the challenge, that a lot of things that are, being proposed right now by the different governments don't give an option to the other side, whatever that side is.
Yes, of course. When unity is being imposed, when it's being enforced in a certain way, for the greater good, so they tell us. Obviously, there is a sense of freedom, there is a sense of free will, but inside of you that will revolt and go, well, listen, this is not unity. It's being enforced, and obviously, people will rebel against that. It is clear with the COVID-19, for example, that somewhere along the line there is an agenda that we don't know about. Yet somewhere along the line, we do have a government, we do have a big brother, and big brother, let's face it, is still our brother. He or she is there for the best of us. However, it is clear that big brother has got small problems. He's a psychopath. He's an hedonist, he's a sociopath, right?
Right.
But somewhere along the line, we need to realize as well that there is a society that has been going on for quite a few thousand years, but some things are working. We're still alive, we're still thriving. A bit more like a virus, really, but nonetheless, we're still here. And there is obviously a need to have a consensus, so things do carry on. And there are so many things that we don't know about, right? And there are some people out there that do know better. It's their job, etc. And sometimes they just can't tell us. But it is clear that this agenda has got for its main working stone division. It is quite clear. It is quite clear. And once we've got that sorted out, I think within ourselves, it well may be that all was other part of life, part of reality, may it be upper-dimensional, intradimensional, UFOs, EBEs, etc. Perhaps we will find ourselves here on terms that there will be a communication which is a bit more interactive.
Right. Okay.
I'm really open to that.
Well, Fab, thank you again for for coming on today and to speak on the subjects that you have. I'm not. I'm just looking over. There's, I guess, no more questions that were coming up on the chat, and no one else logging in or to Telegram to want to share their story. So I think I'm gonna. Sure, here I go. I say the second I say it, Nathan answers. I was gonna, end the show, but I guess Nathan has something to say, so we'll keep going for a little while. But Fab, I want to thank you so far, and I appreciate you, logging in, and we'll mute you and then give Nathan a chance to also say something.
Okay, it's been a pleasure. Good night.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. All right, Nathan, you are unmuted. Unmute yourself and go ahead and say what you want to say.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me okay? This is a new headset I'm using.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, great. Hello, Anand. Hello, everybody. I had more of a comment than a question for Bradley, and then a question for Fab. So
yeah, Bradley, he wrote me his battery ran out, so he's not going to be able to log
okay.
in. Yeah.
Well, then I guess just a comment. And for Bradley, then and if you want to weigh in on it, that'd be cool. But
Sure.
So when they were covering when the riots first broke out in the United States, and they were at their worst, like we're told, CNN was covering, I think it was Minneapolis, and they were showing footage of the downtown burning and big plumes of smoke going in the sky, different buildings, just crumbling apart in flames. And somebody pointed out, like just moments after that footage aired, that was actually footage from the what's that called, the trailer, the movie trailer of World War Z, or some other zombie movie. And that what made me think of it is because he was like, it's like a zombie movie here if you watch the news, he said. And I'm wondering, he said he actually looks out his window and sees the smoke and sees the bombs, but I wonder if they're trying to pull any of that crap there like they did here. I mean, I can't believe CNN was so bold so stupid to do that nowadays with everybody's got everything recorded,
Well, Nathan, just real quick, Bradley, he's still watching, I guess. Although his phone ran out of battery, I guess he's watching the stream on the computer. So whatever question you have for him, he can, I guess, answer in chat, and I can get to that. But let me speak on that real quick. That was really interesting. You said that. So I don't know if you remember this, but there was this was also regarding CNN, right? There were. A decision was made for, I guess, during that time, I forgot when it was, 18, 17, for Trump to pull troops and support for, shoot, what are they called? The other people that are in Iraq too. You have Iraqis, and then there's, oh my goodness.
Sorry,
do you know what I'm talking about? You can't, what? I
do not. Yeah.
Right, but there's the other group, Kurds. The Kurds, that was basically they were gassed by Saddam Hussein, and so they've been fighting, since forever. But anyway, so Trump had pulled support for them for whatever reason, I forgot what the detail was. And CNN was making this huge deal. They're like, oh my God, look what is happening. We have footage, and there's like this barrage of just bullets flying and things exploding, and this is what happens. Like the support was pulled, and these poor people, immediately were getting slaughtered. Not that they weren't. That's not the point. The point was they were exaggerating the shit out of this, right? And only to turns out that they were using footage from a shooting range in Tennessee, and they were basically using tracer rounds shooting at like gasoline things that exploded and all this other stuff. And they had the audacity to sell that as an actual footage, saying this is what's happening in Iraq now because Trump pulled troops, and they were making shit up, and
Gosh.
yeah, it's like, and it's one of these things to where you just go, are you for real? Like, how are you still in business? It wasn't, and obviously it's not the first time they pulled this, and it just makes you wonder, like, like who would still even trust you to watch you, after, fuck up after fuck up.
I know, it's crazy. I mean, and then, if they do that, like, I mean, they either, well, it was somebody said it today. It was just a really cool interview I was watching. He was just, he said, this is a doctor, and this guy is really high up, and he's doing a lot of really good work helping expose COVID. I can't recall his name right now, but anyway, he said a lot of his colleagues, they act like they're under a spell. And I was like, it almost is like that when you talk to friends and family that are going along with the official narrative of what's going on in the world. It's almost like they're under a spell. Like in you would have to be under a spell or somewhat slowing them head to not see how fake this stuff is, especially after, I mean, they must think everybody is just to show footage from, to pass it off as real news, and it's just bogus stuff. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
Right.
So, and Bradley did mention the different news agencies and stuff, and how it's already, very obvious. And my wife's Colombian, and I don't know why people still listen to the news there. There's several news stations to listen to, but they're all owned and controlled by the government. And then there is one private one, but it's totally biased also. But people still listen to it. It's like, I don't understand. I don't understand.
So I mean, since Bradley is listening, did you want to ask him a question so that he can respond to you in the chat?
Well, I wanted to ask because it triggered my memory how he said, that it's like when you go on the news and you watch what's happening here on TV, it's like a zombie movie. And I was like, wait, maybe they're using zombie movie footage? But I wanted to ask, because he said he actually looks out his window and sees this stuff. So I didn't know how much of it was able to be verified. I mean, right now it's all so current event. It would be hard to verify it at this stage of the game and actually be safe. I'm not saying, Bradley, go out in the streets and check for me, but I was just wondering if there's any way that we could, or any way he could verify it, or if he thinks that is even possible that they'd be doing that there. Really, that's why I said it was more of a statement than a question, and just wanted to get his input on it. Yeah.
Well, he heard you,
we can ask him
whatever he responds, when I see it on the chat, whatever he responds, I will let you know. And plus, I mean, if you're watching the stream at the same time, you can read the chat yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm only on Telegram. I always forget to log in on the stream.
That's all right, no problem.
But well, I did have a question for Fab, or I wanted to get his input on a thought that I had while he was talking.
Yeah.
He's talking about like this great divide. This is something we've been talking about on your channel for a while, and we're seeing it more and more. And actually, this interview I listened to today by this doctor, he pointed it out again. It's like everybody's starting to point this thing out. And then I know, so we're talking about it, and I know a lot of people here probably have heard of like the different theories of like the universe is a holographic universe, or as above, so below, or as whatever's going on outside is sort of a reflection of what's going on internally. Like, so this divide that is unmistakable, it's hot, you cannot ignore it anymore if you're not under a spell like a lot of these people are. It's just become so obvious and kind of scary obvious. I can't remember exactly what Fab said. He was we was just talking about the Great Divide. I didn't know. Do you think, or Anand, do you think, Fab, if you're still listening, like, do you think there's how do you think this reflects on each one of us individually, internally, on our internal, on ourself? Like, is there a divide that we need to heal within us? That's why we're seeing it that's why we're seeing it outside of us.
Fab, do you want to speak to that?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a $1 million question, and I wish I had the answer.
He was saying regarding this divide, is there a divide within all of us that we need to be looking at? Is that what talking about reflections, and am I understanding it correctly, Nathan? Meaning the divide we see out
precisely.
there, would that mean we have a divide within?
It seems to me it's obviously a reflection of ourselves, that is being projected on the outside world. And obviously we are getting the feedback of the intention that we are trying to put in there. If we have a look at history, we came back from more or less a clan or a family situation. So the politics are pretty much based on that. We look after our family first and the people that support us. With society, which has become a bit more modern, if we can call it that way, it has obviously become that we are relying much more on a global point of view. With that, obviously, comes the need to heal all this warlike psychology that we have, that we need to defend ourselves. So it is clear that what's happening in the world right now forces us to have an introspective, to look within, to actually see what we can change within ourselves, so we can communicate in better terms, if that answers the question.
Yes,
Also,
I
Nathan,
think I get.
I was just going to say, I saw Bradley log in for a quick second and he disappeared. He might come back on, but he responded. It says, easy way, ask Adnan to send you the stuff I sent him. He's been sending me all kinds of videos and stuff that I don't know that you're going to be able to see ever on the news. And so, I could forward them to you. Some of it is very graphic, but it's been very, very interesting just getting that from him. There could be maybe going on online somewhere that I'm not aware of, but it's I guess very eye-opening to see.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'd like you to share that with me. Thank you. But back to Fab, I think if I understand what you're saying, it's almost like this is like what we're seeing internally is almost from what we're seeing without. It's kind of like the ego is battling for the ego is getting uncovered or exposed, and now it's trying to convince us through any means possible that it is valid and it needs to exist, usually through fear, which is how it kind of always operates. That's how it scares us into believing that it exists. And our higher self, or our soul, our spirit, or whatever, is that, if you follow that, Fab?
Yes. If I understand your question, the way that we can look at it is somewhere along the line. Are we talking about this divide? It is indeed the divide that we have within, which is being portrayed on the outside. And whatever lessons that we're getting from the outside gives us the opportunity to actually integrate all that, within our own personal reality. However, there are processes, there are techniques, let's say, that the conscious and the subconscious and the hyperconscious, it tries to formulate, basically a formula on how we can actually put our fingers on that, right, and actually create a valid reality upon all this. So what I mean by that, it's up to us to develop the means necessary to find the techniques, so that the ego, which is very, very valid, of course, if we have no ego, we actually die, we'll be just spirit, but somehow with that can bridge that gap towards the spiritual in such a way that the ego becomes spirit and the spirits as well feels comfortable to be within the ego. And it is probably the biggest fight that we have. It's the biggest fight that we have. And that's that we see within ourselves, within our society, within our planet. Well, that outlook, it seems to me is the same outlook that we have with the extraterrestrial, that we have with the UFO phenomenon.
Like how? With the UFO phenomenon? That it's separate?
There is that perspective, somewhere along the line that there's two sides. Yes, the UFO is part of the good, positive thing, and yes or no, the UFOs, let's say, they're all negative, etc. And we do have two factions here, right? That we see in mythology. We've got the side that takes.
Fab, excuse me for a second. Is there any way? Are you a little bit away from your mic? Is there any way you can get closer to it?
Is that better now?
Yes, much better.
Is that better? Okay.
Yes.
And this psychological war that we see within ourselves and we portray towards society, towards our environment, which is really deeply ingrained within us. This is who we are. This is human nature. Right, in evolution, if there is such things. Well, unfortunately, those are the main core, the values, the structures on which we looked upon ourselves and looked upon our world. And unfortunately, the EBs, the extraterrestrial, to have some sort of communication which can be validated, they have to go through those filters, right? And obviously, those filters are polluted. We have a look at the environment. We're not doing really well. We are looking at what we are doing upon ourselves and upon our brothers and sisters. We are not doing really well, right? You can ask any kid that has a little bit of introspection about life, etc., and they will tell you the answers. And that's a very good thing about having kids. If you have really deep question about human nature and philosophy, ask a kid, and the way they answer you usually is pretty close from the truth, right?
Because they're so unconstricted and honest. There's no filter or motive to things like adults put on a lot of stuff. I know my kids, it's I always have to when we talk about something, especially my oldest, if I'm being, like I would say something to him and he would in a way get back to me and say, but you said this and that and so on, basically it's like reflecting back to me my own words if they didn't sound right, and it was like this perfect reflection. I was like, all right, well, let me reiterate this and make it towards more understandable and not so contradicting. Because I know there's it's just the general idea of children just being so unfeathered. That's what's the best part. It's like if you, just they give you the most simplest answers and are the most profound things. That's what I love about just the innocent, non-conniving mind.
So I guess we could say our takeaway from this. My question is, if you're at all feeling like you're looking outside and you're seeing the world go to crap, or you're watching the news and it's just getting crazier and crazier, and you're like, what can I do? I try to go to different meetings and groups with activists, and we're trying to all think about it, but it's like it just doesn't seem like we could do much to help change this on like a physical, tangible, legal, socio-political platform like that, or like that. And
Nathan,
I guess what we
is,
could do is work on ourselves.
Right. No, that's exactly what I was going to get at, because if you try to impose others, try to force others to change, they're going to look at you as the aggressor, right? It doesn't matter how well. I
Right.
mean, look at what we're doing. The government says this is good for you, do this, and we're like, no, fuck you, you know. And so the whole point is, if you follow your desire and you are being the best version of yourself that you can possibly be, right? And then the next person also choosing to be the best version of themselves that they can be. The next thing you know, you're going to have all these people that are basically then, aligned in this unified way, by simply working on themselves. And the next thing you know, you're not going to have people to overcome. These people working for government, these people working at these different places that are oppressive, that do send out misinformation and all that, is definitely not, people that are kind of doing the similar things that we are. I don't mean that in a judgy way, but it's just a fact. If there are people seeking truth and enlightenment and a peaceful world, it's not a person, it's not someone, you're not going to be someone that goes out there and then, let's say, puts out propaganda every day. Because a lot of us that have been in this certain positions, like jobs we didn't love, a relationship we weren't happy with, we just stop and go like, why am I in this? What am I doing? And then you're like, the next thing you know, you quit, or you separate, or you move away, or you distance yourself from certain friends because they don't mesh with you. You see what I mean? And so that is truly the way. It's just that each one of us has a different timing of when we're ready to start looking at that. Some of us long ago, others more recent. So by the time we're already here sitting around going like, well, I'm not going to change who I am. I'm going to continue being who I am. It's like, but then, how else can I impose this change? It's like, well, that's the point. You be the change you want to see in the world. I mean, it's a cliche saying,
Right.
but it truly is, because then you
true. It's
live
good.
in a place, that's peaceful and in accordance to your liking. You are around the people that are, thinking in a similar, way to where they just want to, look at the hippies, for example, right? They weren't happy with society. They weren't happy with what's going on. And then what did they do? They created communes. Now, we know they didn't, in the long run, a lot of it didn't work out because, one, it required work, and all they were about is let's play music and smoke weed and be happy, which is fine. But somebody's got to plant a tree or a plant so that you can have food, even on those most basic terms. But the whole point is, instead of imposing that point of view, they got to actually try out what it's like in a community. But then that would require work from everybody, because it's like, besides just being happy and being a good intentioned person, you have to take actions, which means, let's say in the form of a commune, you get up in the morning, you do the part that you need to do, then you take a little break, then you go do again what you need to do, and with everyone contributing in that way, that's how you make it work. But I was reading and watching a lot of different documentaries, and it didn't work out, because human beings, we don't truly do what we say out loud. We only say it because it sounds good to others, but in reality, very few of us take the time to work on ourselves. So of course, in those communes, there was infighting, there was jealousy, there was all these human things, and these were supposed to be people that were all for peace and love and all this other stuff. At the end of the day, in the long run, it didn't work out because you truly have to be that change. When you say, I want to, for example, like a lot of people, and you know this because you're my friend, Nathan, and you're my friend too, Fab, but we never met. We just saw each other over Telegram. I moved to the woods 50 miles south, and I was truly isolated for everybody, that I could potentially. Nathan, can you mute yourself, please, or because there's background music coming through.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just, while I'm trying to finish up this point. Anyway, so I moved, to a place to where I truly wanted to live the way I wanted to live. And I invited people such as yourself and others to then share it with me, to say, hey, come on over for dinner. We'll make a bonfire and we'll relax, right? I was sharing my experience. Like, this is what I wanted, to be out in the open among the stars. And so not many people are willing to do that. I was often looked at as like, wow, you crazy. You have to drive a whole hour to work and a whole hour back, and it's like, wouldn't it be easy if you found an apartment closer in town so you can be close to work and all that? But well, because then my entire environment would be surrounded to work. It would be to go to a place that I don't want to go to do things I don't necessarily want to do, and it was not, it's just, I would be going against of, what I felt inside, but I wanted my piece of heaven, my slice of heaven. So I said, I will go find a place where I found it, ended up finding it, and I would drive no matter what. And I would be at peace because every time I would go to work, I would know I would be coming back to this. Every time I'm leaving work, I'm excited because I know I'm going back to that. And so that was my main goal. It wasn't a job anymore, because most people don't, I think we both have, we have this mutual friend, Rick, that we both know. And I mean this in all loving way, but I brought this out to him one time, because you remember he was working in Costco, and he was not happy with what he's doing and all these other things, but wanted to do more video work, right? Video and get involved in that way. And so he was just telling me how much he would love to do that. And he saw me do what I do with UFO Hub. And he's like, that is so cool. I want to film and do all these different things. And so I just sat there as he was telling me this. I was looking at him. I said, well, so the place you don't like, the place that you don't want to go to every day and waste 8+ hours at, but for that place, you make sure that you get up early in the morning, you brush your teeth, go to the bathroom, take a shower, do what you got to do, and you're there on time. But the things that you want to do, you don't put in the effort, you don't record things, you skip out on recordings, you change your mind on certain stuff, and all this other stuff. So what realities are you pushing? You're saying you want this, but you're investing all your time in that. And the very thing you say you don't want, you work the hardest for. You make sure you do all you possibly can. So I said, shift that around to where this thing that you say you want, that becomes your priority, and you make sure you get up on time for that. You make sure you're dressed and ready and prepared, and you keep going, physically go after what you want, and then, that's how you achieve that desire. But most people, they hate the job, but they're like, I have to go do it because of money. They hate the environment, but like, they have to do it because of money. And so they create this fear mechanism to where you entrap yourself to where I'm not going to survive. I will not be able to continue to live because, I have to do this thing I don't want to, because that's how everyone does it, and it's really, you will be truly amazed how magical and awesome the reality that we live in is, that when you start shifting, things, you make, you will realize like, wow, I made this change, I followed my desire, and guess what? I'm still alive. And not only that, I'm not hungry. My bills are paid, because you truly are going after what you want. And the universe can't do anything else but to give you what your true vibration is. It's only people that in a way, and quite honestly, they're lying to themselves about what their desire is. They're lying to themselves, and they say, I tried, I was going after this and it didn't work out. I put myself in debt and, did all this stuff for nothing, and there was no return on it, because the very word you used, you tried, you didn't do, you just half-assed it, and it's so difficult to get that ingrained into people, that when you say you want this, you have to go 100%, not, yeah, maybe I'll think about it, or I'll try it a little bit and see how it works out. And if it doesn't work, then it's not something I'm supposed to do. It's like, you're either in it or you're not. Okay,
Right.
let me see
What a
here.
good way to, good takeaway.
Sorry, Bradley just wrote, says, I was accused of joining a cult for trying CE5. A spaceman Oust, he was saying something about I know you don't. I know you mentioned Spaceman. I know you mentioned you don't have Telegram, but I would really recommend to join the group. And when you share it there, everyone will immediately see it. Instead of just sending it to me and then making me the factor to potentially share or look at something. It's like just join the group. And even just earlier, I have a pop-up come up where Rody, I think, posted another video about a UFO or something, and that's all on in the UFO Hub chat right now that you can just see. It's not dependent on me making sure that it's being pushed out there. So I would really recommend you downloading Telegram. It's not difficult, and then you can interact with an awesome group that is basically growing every time I mention Telegram. There's always new subscribers. Okay, what else we got? Okay. Well, Nathan, thank you, and Fab, thank you again. I appreciate you guys logging in. There hasn't been much activity. I'm just looking again at the chat, but yeah, I'm gonna quit here. But I just want to remind everyone that on Monday at 7, I'm still trying to figure out who I'm gonna have as a guest on Friday. If I don't happen to have a show, I'll try my best to have one, but if I don't, I will make it up to you, obviously, with a Monday show, having George Nori on to do question and answers from all of you. So I hope you log in, being ready on Telegram, and join Telegram and or the chat in, whether you are watching on Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube. Whatever you type in the comments section, it will pop up here for me to ask it. But just please make sure to use the 3 stars before you ask the question, because that's that way I know is directed towards the guest. Okay, so both of you, thank you again. Everyone else watching, I really appreciate you all. Also, thank you, Bradley, for earlier today, and everyone else that had logged in to watch. So sit tight. I will let you guys know if I'm going to have a guest on Friday at 7. I'm hoping that I do, but if not, Monday, that following week, for sure, I will have George Nori, and I'm hoping you can join us. So everyone, thank you again. Have a good day. Have a good rest of the week, and I'll see you guys soon.